Hi, my name is Jenny Lauren Dowden for Conduit News. Today we have Representative Mark Lowery joining us. As many of you know, he is running to be the next Arkansas treasurer. Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Sorry I can't be with you in studio, but I appreciate you working with me to do it by Zoom.
Of course. Well, early voting is underway. Give us an update on how you believe the race is going.
Well, I feel the race is going pretty well. A statewide poll that is very credible came out last week, done by Talk Business, shows me with a sizable lead, but there's also considerable undecided still out there. So I'm just very happy that undecided does not have an active campaign. And so all I've got to do is just pull in the undecideds. And I tell you, I want to thank Conduit News. Y'all have done such a great job of pointing out, one, that I'm a hero of the platform, of the party platform, and that my opponent, Mr. Pitsch, has actually voted against the platform numerous times through the years.
Yes, that would be from our series, Ignoring the Party Platform. And then for you, Heroes of the Platform, talk to us about that. Talk to us about how you would contrast yourself further against your opponent. And then how are you going to bring in those undecided voters to ultimately vote for you?
Well, I think the main contrast is that I really understand what it means to be a fiscal conservative. In 2019, for example, and Conduit again pointed this out, Mr. Pitsch voted for 7 out of 7 tax increases. Some of those tax increases are really very draconian when it comes to the average Arkansan. For instance, the tax on cell phone bills. That tax, or as the pro-tax people want to try and hide it and call it a fee, it has raised Arkansan cell phone bills to the second highest in the United States. In contrast, I think I've lost count of how many tax increases that I have voted against through the years. I voted against the highway tax, the fuel tax. I voted against the water tax, the cell phone tax. I think we should be leaving more money in the pockets of Arkansans. And Mr. Pitsch goes around bragging about $1.2 billion in reserves and $1 billion surplus. But frankly, that just tells me that we're taking too much money from we the people. And so we need to really craft a strategy that gives immediate relief to Arkansans.
I understand. We, of course, at Conduit hear that often about the surplus and just overtaxing, considering that we're supposed to have a supermajority. However, a lot of people believe that they're not operating quite like a fiscal conservative. Talk to us about that strategy that you just briefly mentioned. If elected, what would that look like under your term?
Well, obviously, as treasurer, I will not have a vote in the Arkansas legislature, but I'll have a 4-year term, and I believe a bully pulpit to go around the state as I've already been doing, but expanding it, not just meeting with Republican Party groups, but meeting with civic clubs, Rotary, Kiwanis, Lions, and getting feedback. And of course, also going to festivals like I have and meeting average Arkansans, finding out where the 8.5% inflation, the 50% higher fuel costs are hitting them the hardest, and how they would need immediate relief. And then I believe I have enough credibility as a 5-term member of the legislature and chairman of the Insurance and Commerce Committee for the last 2 terms to then go back, meet with legislators, share with them maybe information that they're not hearing other than in their own district. And I also would be serving on the Board of Finance. So part of that is meeting with the director of Department of Finance and Administration, representative of the governor's office, securities department, banking, all of these different entities, to be able to give them updates on how the investments of the state are doing, and that we can feel safe in being able to leave more money in the pockets of Arkansans in the first place, not just collecting it and then maybe rebating it back or refunding it back, but making a decision up front of leaving that money in their pocket in the first place.
There have been reports about you, your personal life, such as saying that you are unfit for this office, questioning former bankruptcy filings. Would you like to address that and clear up anything right now?
Well, the main thing I would want to point out is that in the bankruptcy that I'm currently in, it's very similar to what a lot of Arkansans go through. Mitigating circumstances. I had a mortgage company that did not honor a loan modification agreement that they had entered into with me, and they then wanted to call my loan due. And the only way that I was able to stop them stealing my home was to file bankruptcy. This is a company, Nation Star Mortgage, who's had to enter into class action lawsuit settlements for doing the same thing to tens of thousands of homeowners all across the country. So I believe it really puts me in a position where Arkansans understand that I understand what they're going through. And, there's really no comparison. I mean, for instance, I think Mr. Pitsch would have to admit then that if he thinks that my bankruptcy makes me unfit, that he has to admit that he's a never Trumper, that he didn't believe that Donald Trump was fit to be president because of his bankruptcies. And that's not something that he's willing to admit.
You mentioned this earlier. You have been in your 5th term serving in the Arkansas legislature. Apparently, you're doing something right there in your district to be reelected over and over.
Well, I believe so. And that's the thing, is this bankruptcy has been out there since 2017. I have been reelected twice since then. This is just a cheap trick that is being used to try and undermine me. And I think Arkansans can see through it. They can see through the fact that it is a personal attack. There are plenty of checks and balances in the treasurer's office, plenty of accountability, one of which being that the treasurer would give quarterly reports to the Board of Finance on the investments, but also how the money is being spent and how it is being circuited back to the municipalities and the counties as far as their turnback funds. So there's really no comparison, and it's just a cheap political attack.
We mentioned this already, but early voting is underway. How can people get in touch with you, possibly help with your campaign now until May 24th? What do they need to know?
Well, we just put out, even after the polling, we put out a mailer that many people are already telling me that they've received. It has my website information on there. It's www.voteonthemark.com. Or if they want to just call me directly, my cell phone is 501-837-5221. That's the cell phone number that I've had throughout my 5 terms in the legislature. No one else answers that phone. It comes directly to me. And I would continue that practice as the state treasurer.
Thank you so much for joining Conduit today, and keep us updated on the race.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the time.